Good morning, Highlands. So this is the first Sunday of Advent. And so as we think about Advent is all about the coming King. They've been celebrating Advent. They found evidence in St. Martin of Tours in his writing that goes back to the early 4th century. So 1600 years of celebration. And it's all about preparation for the coming King. And it's a story of how God breaks into the ordinary, sort of rips open the fabric of reality and enters in the person of Jesus Christ. And so how do we get our spiritual houses in order? And when we think about how we do that, we often use Santa Claus theology, where when Santa Claus is coming to town, he sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake, he watches everything. And we have this idea, the same idea about God, that he's watching everything. And yet Paul writes in this letter his first letter to the Corinthians. He writes about how this community is being enriched and how they're guiltless on the day of the Lord. And yet then Paul goes on in the next few chapters to talk about all the ways that they're guilty. And we say, well, how can they be guiltless if we're reading all these things about how guilty they are? How does this tension hold? And that's the grace of Christ. That's what happens when God radically breaks in, is despite their guilt, they're seen as guiltless. And what a gift is given to that community. And Paul's celebrating this community, no matter how broken they are, because he's sending them out into the world to look for ways God continues to break into the ordinary. God continues to do miraculous things. And so Advent is when we prepare for that. We prepare for Christ's return. And we look at our ordinary lives and we think, how can I be actively waiting every day for the coming of Christ, the King? How do I prepare my heart and prepare my life to celebrate what God is doing?